Diversity, inclusion, and multiculturalism are some of the words which definitely characterize Canada. As everyone knows, Canada is home to individuals and families from so many backgrounds and nationalities. Welcome to the I CanMove Podcast, where it's all about building a community around the achievement of success through immigration. I'm your host, Paul, and thanks again for joining us on this episode. In this episode, we continue the series with guests from all over the world who now reside in Canada. The aim is to share these unique insights and real-life stories to bring value to the I CanMove community. Today, I'm joined by another great friend of mine, Jermaine Patterson, who is originally from Jamaica and came to Canada a few months after we did. Hey, Jermaine, what's going on today?
Hey, Paul, how's it going? I'm doing good so far.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So as mentioned, I want to just have a little discussion, as friends, as brethrens, as we'd say in Jamaica, and just kind of share some insights and stories, to help others, particularly those coming from Jamaica or thinking about coming here.
Yeah, man, so good.
Awesome. So the first question I have for you, right? Share a little bit of your background and why you chose to come to Canada.
All right, so as you mentioned, I'm Jamaican, born and raised Jamaican. 29 years old. In Jamaica, I had an accounting background. Then I transitioned to working as a bank examiner at the Bank of Jamaica. Moved to Canada January 2018. So mainly the choice or my decision on moving to Canada was pretty much just wanting a change of scenery, experiencing a new lifestyle, and just chasing different opportunities, as well as experiencing different cultures and so on. So that was really my whole motive in moving, because getting the vibe from moving from a third world to a first world country, everything's going to change. Lifestyle will change. You'll have so much more to experience, and endless amount of opportunities you can just reap. So
yeah, I think. Absolutely. I can definitely share that sentiment. Living in Jamaica and living in Canada are, two different dynamics for sure.
Yep.
So I can definitely appreciate that, and the opportunities here are definitely different, and we'll definitely jump into that a bit more. So let me ask you, so of all the benefits that you can think of for moving to Canada, free healthcare is one that comes top of mind, ease of transition into citizenship, and just general opportunities, I guess, right? What would you say would be the most important to you and the most important one that drove your decision to come here?
Honestly, I wouldn't say. All right, so honestly, the benefit that Canada has that I'm most impressed with, I wouldn't say it drove me to being here, but what I'm most impressed with is how safe the country actually is. Like, nice. I have a different peace of mind being here. Like, I don't worry about I'm not scared any at all on being on the road. It's just a completely safe environment from traffic, from being on the road in terms of driving. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to worry about theft, burglary, violence to that nature, to that sort. That's what I'm most impressed with about Canada. Other benefits, healthcare, the fact that healthcare is completely free. Wow, that's just amazing. Like, since I've been here, I haven't spent a dime on anything in terms of healthcare, and I had certain injuries basketball wise. I need to do various tests and so on I did not have to pay for anything. Also, the transition to citizenship and how powerful that passport will be. 3 years to get your citizenship, and you pretty much can travel anywhere in the world hassle free. That's just great.
No, for sure. Touching on the safety aspect, Jamaica, unfortunately, has its troubles with crime, which none of us are proud of. But as you said, crime is definitely here in Canada, but it's not felt as much. The day to day, it's not felt as much. And as you mentioned, definitely being able to move around with a bit more ease is definitely a great thing about being here, for sure.
Yep.
Cool. Alrighty, so coming to Canada is great. We've discussed some of the benefits of coming here and doing that, right? But I can only imagine that your transition here hasn't been all sunshine, and I'm sure you've faced some challenges during your journey here. And I just want you to maybe touch on some of those and kind of share some of those with the audience.
All right, so I have two main challenges. Well, there are challenges at first. One of them still are, but landing my first job. It took me a while to get my first job, and my first job, you helped me with that through your own networking.
Sure.
In Jamaica, like, it's not the same way, where the pathway is kind of lined out for you after you finish complete university. You start pushing out resumes. That doesn't work here, because the amount of persons that are sending in their resumes on a daily basis to these companies are applying for the post that you're applying for. You're going to apply for a post and you're competing with 400, 500 persons, while that's not necessarily the case in Jamaica. So
yeah,
it took me a while to land my first job. So I found that networking is really the key. Leveraging off the network that your friends have, going to networking events, meeting people, talking to people, just network and create your network.
Yeah.
And
no, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and my other challenge, which I'm still facing, is adjusting to the weather. The winter here is no joke. You've experienced it yourself. Getting to those minus 15 temperatures. Coming from a place where it's summer all year round. That's just really a challenge. It's actually, being in Jamaica and hearing about the winter, you're thinking about cold, but when you come here and actually experience it for yourself, and it's not like it's just one day or 2 days or a week, it's day in, day out, traveling to work in the cold and all of that. It takes a while to get adjusted to, and I'm still not adjusted to it right now, even after being here for a little over 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. So two challenges that I myself faced as well. As Jermaine mentioned, I was lucky enough to and blessed enough to have helped him a bit, in having his transition into his first role here. So that was awesome for me. And as well as I was the beneficiary of that help as well from someone else, another friend of mine, when I myself was trying to get into the workspace. So, I was able to reach out to a friend of mine that was here as well in a job. And she was able to get me a shoe in on my first real full-time job here in Canada. And, I was so appreciative for it. And of course, just passing that along and helping others has always been something, particularly persons, from Jamaica, persons in my direct circle and people that I consider friends, but also broadly, knowing that is a big challenge for many immigrants coming here to Canada. They speak of this thing called, having Canadian experience, right? And that being a challenge when coming here, and as Jermaine mentioned, without that, it can be a bit difficult to get in there. But as you would know from my story, Jermaine's story, and so many other stories, it can happen and will happen. It may just take some time, a little bit of effort, but it surely can happen and will happen. So, don't allow that to scare you away or deter you in any way. The opportunities are here, and though it may take some time, you'll definitely get there for sure. Yeah. And the weather, I think we're going to touch on that a bit more, but yeah, the weather is definitely tough. So let me ask you something, Jermaine. So based on the challenges, what were some of the triumphs, would you say, based on your journey here?
All right, well, so off the top of my head, I can think of one major triumph which I'm really proud of. So, nice. Even though I was in a very good job in Jamaica and all of that, I think my biggest accomplishment here in Canada is landing a senior position at Scotiabank. So, nice. As you know, I'm a senior anti-money laundering officer, investigator.
Nice.
And I think that's just a really big triumph for me after being in the field for only a year and a half. You know, what I love with Canada is that, you know, when you put out the work, you really get recognized for it. And, you know, the managers, the staff, you're not overlooked. Like, they really recognize your work and you're rewarded accordingly. You know, so I think that's my biggest triumph in Canada so far.
Yeah. And let me ask you something. So in our previous episode, I was speaking to Peter, you know, and of course Peter, Jermaine also knows Peter, you know, we're all friends. And Peter mentioned one of his benefits and coming here, and one of his the great things about Canada for him, and it resonates with what you're saying, is that, as you said, you put in the work and you get acknowledged for the work. It's not necessarily who you know or how much time in your post or anything like that, but as long as you're able to show your worth, do the job well, and shine in your post, you are able to make moves. And I think that's what I'm hearing from what you're saying.
Exactly. That's 100% it.
Awesome. All right, so likes, loves, dislikes, let's jump to that. So what would you say you love the most about Canada? If someone was supposed to come to you right now just randomly and like, hey Jermaine, I'm here new to Canada, what do you love the most about Canada? What would that be?
All right, the first thing I would say is the opportunities. Honestly, I can't stress how much opportunities are here, you know, to start businesses, you know, the network you create to leverage off those people to get business ideas, you know, start projects and so on. Really and truly, the opportunities here are endless. I'm actually in the process of, you know, like we're doing this right now through the whole coronavirus outbreak. I'm actually laying down some blueprint to start my own business. You know, something I actually didn't see myself doing in Jamaica. Now that just through the connections I've made here, you know, I'm in the process of creating my business model and seeing if I can roll it out next year. So that is one, like just the endless opportunities here, both in the work world, you know, because I mean, I completely switched fields when I got here, and I'm a senior in my company at the moment. And another thing I love about Canada is the entertainment. There's so much things here to do, you know, different things that, you know, we didn't experience in our country. Just talking about one thing off the top of my head is, for example, the NBA. I'm a big basketball fanatic, and you know, I try to go to 3 matches every year. Well, this is my second year.
Nice.
But yeah, so there's just so much things to do, from different sporting events, professional sporting events, you know, and different smaller things to do, like even, for example, like indoor skydiving, all of that. And take it a step further, you know, Canada is a part of the joint venture with the US and Mexico. So come 2026, the World Cup will be hosted here. I think 15 matches will be played here.
15, yeah, for sure.
So the entertainment.
Let's hope this COVID thing holds up. But yeah, go ahead.
So the entertainment factor is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, for sure. I know one of the things I did for the first time coming here was ice skiing. Obviously, we don't have any ice in Jamaica, you know, so that was a fun experience. And as a matter of fact, Jermaine was there. You know, we went together, and you know, it was a whole group of us. I'm not sure if it was his first time, but it was definitely my first time. But yeah, it was fun. Lots of laughs and lots of fun for sure. Awesome. So let me ask you, that's a few things that you love about Canada. What is something that you dislike?
All right. So one thing I do dislike is the weather, but you know, we already touched on that a bit, because it's just a huge adjustment. Like, there's no way around it. It's just a huge adjustment, especially when you're coming from the tropics. Another thing, like, I probably don't like is, you know, being in Jamaica, Kingston, you know, everywhere is at least 20 minutes out. Everything is 20 minutes out. Yeah. Now, in Canada, you'll find that you'll have to travel. Even when you're traveling by car, you know, you have to get an hour to where you're going.
For sure.
And it gets really challenging sometimes when all your friends and the few family you might have here are scattered all over the place, and linking up is so hard, especially when you don't have your own personal transportation. You don't own a vehicle. Commuting by public transport can be a real pain. Like, even before I started driving, getting to you was a problem, because you lived
sure.
like, if I was to travel to you by bus, that's 2.5 hours. So
sure.
Linking up, we'd always have to plan in advance to meet X where somewhere that's mutually convenient between us. But in Jamaica it's just a quick 20-minute, 30-minute drive, or even by public transport, and you're there at your virgin house, drinking a beer and so on. So that's another thing, like the distance between the places and just the overall commute, can be a real hassle.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let me touch on those two things. So back to the weather. That's definitely one of the things that I dislike the most here. Coming from the tropics, coming from the beaches, coming from the constant warmer weather, it's definitely a challenge here in Canada getting over the winters and the cold. It definitely does get extremely cold here. And the winters last for a very long time. Too long. So it really takes a certain amount of resilience, and again, particularly coming from the Caribbean or a country that has warmer weather, to kind of face it. But it can be done. We've been here, we continue to be here. So it's definitely not something that's driving us out. As well as the upside of it is that it provides a new experience, a new levity. I remember the first time really actually seeing snow was here in Canada, and I remember the first Christmas being here. I was at a cousin's of mine house, and I was looking through a window, and looking out, the snow was on the trees, and I just thought of like these postcards that I'd seen the Christmas movies and stuff. It was absolutely beautiful, so that was great for sure. And the next thing, the distance, it is a bit, you'll find that you are pretty far from people, and that kind of creates a bit of hesitation to get around, just based on the distance and stuff, but again, as long as you have a car, lots of modes of transportation here, some of them, a bit more convenient than others, but you can definitely make it work, and as long as you want to, it will happen. As Jermaine said, we'd plan to, where to meet up that's convenient for everybody and stuff like that, but it's definitely a consideration for sure. All right. So before we go, I have one more question for you, Jermaine. As you know, this podcast is all about helping new immigrants, helping people thinking about Canada, helping people that are probably here but in that transitioning phase and trying to get their lives back to where they want it to be, or trying to achieve newer heights, or whatever the case may be, right? So to those people, what would you say are your biggest tips to help those people through their transitioning process?
Well, firstly, for those that are not in Canada as yet, I would advise them to visit the country. Try to make 2 visits before you make the plunge to move. Try to make a visit in the summer and one in the winter, and just get a feel of everything, from the weather to the culture to the lifestyle, because Canada is really diverse. Like, you might be walking in one area and you see 5 different ethnicities like just walking by you, and each of them is a completely different interaction. So get a feel of the culture and get a feel of the weather. For those persons here that are still transitioning and those planning to come, just research the country. Go on the government's website and read about all these benefit programs, because something I wish I did earlier on was do more research on the country, and finding out what benefit programs they are, what initiatives they have, and so on, because a lot of things that I learned is through talking to people, and I wish I knew before, I would have jumped on this sooner, I've jumped on that sooner, so doing your research from early out, it'll put you in a much better situation when you're here, and when you're here and when you're about to come here, you know exactly where to go, exactly what to do in various areas. So, and also I would encourage persons here and persons not here, use up the social media, like try to talk to people online, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, network with people, so if you're coming here and you don't know much people, when you get here, you're not out in the ocean by yourself. You've already created some form of a bond with someone where you can ask them something right off the bat. They already know the best thing to tell you. They can even show you around, because trust me, you will get lost in this country. So research in the country, see if you can visit and network with people. Those are my top 3 tips.
No, for sure. And I just want to touch on something that you raised. So, Canada, as everyone may or may not know, Canada, immigration is built into the Canada framework, right? And as such, the Canadian government provides, through private partnerships as well as initiatives directly from the government, provides a lot of opportunity for new immigrants to do exactly what Jermaine says and help them during their transition. So there are lots of programs out there relating to job, learning English, learning French, socializing with others, meeting people from your own community, meeting people from different communities. There are so many programs out there offered to help new immigrants, and specifically targeted to new immigrants, which you should definitely take advantage of, for sure. Jermaine, my guy, thank you so much for joining us on this episode from Jamaica to Canada. It's
my
been
pleasure.
Great chatting with you. Thank you so much. I'm sure the listeners would have gotten some great insights from your stories here. For sure. Thank you. Awesome. So, guys, as we go, thanks a million for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We'll connect again soon on the next episode.